One of the most influential books that I've ever read on business is the $100 Million Offers book by Alex Hormozi. I read it back to back 4 times, and in this video I'll actually show you how I implemented the stuff that he talks about to Etsy and print on demand. Let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing is that he talks about, and the main thing honestly when it comes to Etsy and print on demand overall, is the dream outcome. So the dream outcome is the main thing. Now this for us as print on demand sellers is the design, or basically it's the design on the right mockup to be specific. So I have a strategy for choosing mockups, I'll link that up here, but basically the design itself is the dream outcome. This is the most important part of the equation because all the rest of these things here, and I'll go over how to enhance the offer later on as well, but all of the things is basically, they don't really matter unless you have this specific thing because the customer actually wants to buy the item that you're selling. The second thing that he talks a lot about is the perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, what this basically is, let's say that they want this specific item that you're selling. How likely is it that they will actually get the item that they pay for? So Amazon previously, it's commonplace now and everyone do it, but in the beginning no one really did it, but Amazon actually created the whole system with reviews because that actually increases this part of the value equation, the perceived likelihood of achievement. And yeah, so basically if someone purchases from you, how likely is it that they're actually going to get what they pay for? If you have no reviews, then it usually feels quite unsure from a customer's point of view to actually purchase from you, even though that you might be a great seller and everything. If there's no reviews, the likelihood that they will actually not get what they pay for is quite low since there's no proof of that. And a great point to, I think I heard this from Alex Hormozi as well, but let's say that you basically have a doctor that's just done his medical exams and just passed all of his exams basically. And now you need a life-threatening operation. You can either choose this one that has never done it on a human before and has never done it in practice, or you can choose this other guy or woman who has done it like 50 times over. Which one would you choose? Either the person that's done it 50 times over successfully or the one that just passed his or her medical exams. I definitely choose this person as it just significantly increases the perceived likelihood of achievement. And this is the same with reviews on Etsy. If there's tons of people that has experienced that they've had a great experience with actually purchasing from the shop or the specific listing itself, then the likelihood that you will have the same experience too is quite high. But if there's no reviews or there's just bad reviews, the likelihood that you will have a great experience is not that sure. So the main thing for us when it comes to the perceived likelihood of achievement is the reviews. Now, the time delay. This one is quite obvious, but it's basically the processing and the shipping times. I'll use an example of myself, my own experience. So when I started, I think it was my first Q4, but I didn't really have much sales, honestly. And I fiddled around so much because my friends were having a lot of sales and I just didn't know why I didn't sell that much. Then I kind of realized, okay, I followed this weird advice that just says that things can get really laggy and basically things can take a lot longer to process since the pressure on print providers are so high during Q4. So things can take a lot longer than usual to actually produce. And this is why I heard like the advice that you should like prolong the processing times by like 4 or 5 days or something like that. So I did that, but none of it was actually working after I did that. I took it for granted, and I fiddled around with everything else, like the design, I fiddled around with pricing, I fiddled around with so many different things. Nothing worked until I just changed back to my original shipping times on Etsy, and that clicked it for me. And it feels like such a small thing, honestly, like the processing and shipping times, because it's just a shipping profile that you just then apply to every listing basically, and it's just a small thing. But for me that year, it was the biggest thing that actually made me get a lot of Q4 sales. So let's say that you would get an item, like there's 2 identical items here. Let's say that you get this one in 4 weeks or this one in 1 week. Which one would you choose? Obviously this one that you get faster. Like I recently bought something off of Amazon myself, and yeah, the faster I got it, the more likely I was actually personally to purchase it. So the time delay is a huge thing. It's not something to be overlooked, and it's a really important metric to actually get sales on Etsy. Now, the effort and sacrifice is not as straightforward as you might think. You might think it's just the price, but the effort and sacrifice is basically how easy is it for them to actually get the item, and how much hassle does it basically contain. So how I view this is basically, will there be hassle if problems occur? So that's one thing. How easy it's to purchase, like that's all on Etsy's part, since you can just add to cart and then purchase. But how easy is it for them to actually purchase what they want? If the listing is too complicated with like too many variations, or if the listing isn't just clear in its offer, then that's something that definitely, like, we should decrease the effort and sacrifice as much as possible. But if the listing is too complicated to understand and you don't really get it like within seconds, because that's honestly how much time a customer gives you, if they don't understand it fully fast, then usually they click away. So first thing, how much hassle will it be? Another thing, how easy is it to actually purchase? And the pricing, of course, is another thing. And the last thing that I think that involves this is basically, can I return it if something actually happens? So your returns and exchanges policy. So those are the things that we want to decrease as much as possible. So with pricing, I've talked about this before, but the lower volume you have, the more sales you do. However, the more sales you need to do to actually make the same profit if you have a higher gross margin. But the key thing to take away is that the lower the sacrifice for the customer, the more volume you can actually sell on Etsy. That's the pricing part. If they can return it, that makes it a lot likelier for them to actually purchase, because they know that they can just, in worst case, return it if something happens. And the last part is the ease of purchase. We can't control that since Etsy is the ones that are actually making the site, but they've made it as effortless as possible, and we have to rely on them since we're on their site. Now, to implement any of these 4 things here, the main thing is to have a really good design, and the other thing is to have great reviews. To get great reviews, I've talked a lot about that in this video here, but basically in the beginning, if we're new to this, if we make sure that they have a really outstanding experience, and when something is basically shipped, we message them with tracking, and that they can contact us if anything occurs, or any problem occurs. That makes it, first of all, easy for them to actually track the item, and the second thing is that it makes it really easy to actually follow up since you've given them something beforehand. Then when the item has actually been delivered to the customer, you can then follow up with them and just ask, is everything good with the item? A lot of customers don't actually answer this message, but a lot of people also do. So ask them this, and you provided them with tracking in the beginning, just basically giving good service, then that usually leads to great reviews. And one of the most important aspects, which is so, at least for me, it was so easily overlooked, that's the processing and the shipping times. Make sure that they are accurate. The easiest way to do this is to just take the average of the sales that you have and implement that within the listings. Let's say that you've made 30 sales and like 10 of them has been delivered within 10 days, another 10 has been delivered within 15 days, another 10 has been delivered within 13 days. Then maybe just do 13 days as the total processing and delivery time. This is really important, so do not overlook this part. And when it comes to the effort and sacrifice, how I implemented this was basically to have a break-even pricing strategy in the beginning to lower the price to get rank initially. And then another part is to always be like accommodating to customers when they ask for something. Like a lot of people buy something, they want it after that cancel, but overall just providing good customer service, answering any question that they have. And then, because that usually, at least from my perspective, that if you answer them fast with great customer service, that usually leads to a belief that they will have not that many problems, and they don't have to sacrifice a lot of headaches with purchasing from your store. And the last thing to actually decrease this part, the effort and sacrifice part, is to have a returns and exchanges policy. I've talked about that previously, but you can view that specifics about that in this video right here. But that really helps to decrease the effort and sacrifice too, since they know that they can return it if something happens. Now, the second part of this video will be about the enhancers. So these basically enhance the value of the offer itself. But before we go into that, if you found that this video gave you some value, you can support the channel by hitting that like button, hitting subscribe, and hitting that bell's notification button. In return, I'll promise to give you the best Etsy print-on-demand content that I possibly can make. Now, let's get back to it. So the enhancers. The first thing here, when it comes to the enhancers of the value, is scarcity. So this one is one that I found quite hard to implement, but basically it's how much stock you have left. So I've not dabbled too much into this myself, as I haven't really found a good way to implement it. But on Amazon, for instance, it says how many there are left in stock. Like there's 5 left in stock, 4 left in stock, and so forth. That's something that really enhances the offer itself and pushes someone to buy. So that's enhancer number 1. If you can find a creative way to actually implement scarcity, please let me know in the comments down below, as I really want to know myself. Now, the second thing is urgency. So what urgency is, it's another thing that will push the customer to actually buy. And on Etsy, that's mainly having like daily sales. If you have a daily sale going on, there will be a timer within the listing that will basically say, you will buy this item within this amount of time or something like that to get this price. There's like this green little message in the listing that just is like a countdown on how much time there's left on your 24-hour sales. So implementing 24-hour sales is something that really increases urgency and pushes someone to buy now, not tomorrow or the day after that they have to actually buy it today. Now remember, these are enhancers. The value equation that I talked about previously is still the main thing, but these enhance the value that you actually offer to the customer. The third thing of the enhancers is a guarantee. I've talked a lot about guarantees, and guarantees are huge. It was them honestly the main thing that I took away from the book. But a guarantee can state something like, if you're not happy with your purchase, please contact us and we'll be happy to give you a refund or replacement. And it's good to have like a time frame on how long they can contact you, what's the window that they can actually contact you within. A guarantee like that is really great to have, as it offsets the risk from the customer and puts it back on you. So especially in the beginning, but it also raises conversion rates. But a guarantee is a huge thing that really enhances the perceived likelihood of achievement and lowers the effort and sacrifice part of the value equation. Now, there's another thing that's within the book that he refers to as bonuses. And for us on Etsy, that's listing videos. Now, listing videos is a great thing. It's still something that enhances the value. If the dream outcome isn't there, like the design isn't selling, it won't fix anything, but it really definitely enhances the offer itself. Now, when it comes to videos, I've seen so many different variations of it, but the most important thing with a video, in my opinion, is that it needs to increase the perceived likelihood of them actually getting what they want. So let's say that someone buys a sweatshirt, for instance. If they can see a video on how the sweatshirt itself is worn on a person, and there's a video and you can see all the angles and everything like that, and that will basically increase the perceived likelihood of them actually getting what they want, since they can see the fit on the person that they actually like in the video. So there's lots of different ways that people portray videos on Etsy, but in my opinion, it's really important that someone is actually wearing the shirt itself, as it should show that if someone wants this specific fit on them, like with the Gildan 18000 for instance, it's a quite baggy and an airy sort of sweatshirt. It's kind of big. If you can showcase that within the video itself on how it actually looks on someone, then it gives them a better understanding of the product. And if that's what they're looking for, then it definitely increases the perceived likelihood that they will actually get what they want, because pictures can't really portray that, but a video can. And the last of the enhancers is the naming. This is mainly the SEO. I would not overthink this. Let's say for instance that you sell a pickleball shirt, then it's really important to use pickleball shirt, or if you sell a sweatshirt, pickleball sweatshirt, pickleball crewneck. You shouldn't say it sports crewneck. So in our cases, it's really important to just name it properly, so it's easy for someone to actually search for it and get what they want. I have a whole SEO video that just goes through what I do. It's really simple. You can watch that here, but just keeping it simple, stating what it actually is, and just using what's working is what I always do. But yeah, not overcomplicating it. Take what works, fix what doesn't seem to work that well, and be highly targeted with highly relevant keywords is what I always use for my SEO. But it's still really important to name it properly, as it in our cases, otherwise no one will actually get it seen, since we're selling on Etsy where everything is search based. All right, if you got to the end of the video and you found that this video actually gave you some clarity on what value and all this stuff kind of is, I suggest watching this video here. It goes over the most crucial part about print on demand, which is the design. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.